Welcome to Future Role Model, a podcast that praises the unconventional and redefines what it means to be a role model. I'm guest recording at my favorite place. It really is. I'd have no problem saying that. My favorite place.
Oh, shucks.
People of Comedy Network here in Chicago with James Webb.
Hey.
And finally have my guest, T Murph.
Finally.
We have been trying to do this for a minute.
This is true.
But you're always somewhere and I'm always somewhere, and my time in Chicago that we overlap is never the same.
And this time it worked out.
This time it worked out. How was your, yesterday was Christmas.
Yeah.
This will be coming out on New Year's Eve.
Okay.
So a lot of drunk people will be listening to this, I'm sure. Or watching it live right now because it's available a little bit early. But how was your holiday?
Christmas was cool, man. I got a chance to see my family. A lot of family members I haven't seen in a long time.
Yeah.
So, that's always a dope thing. Getting to actually be around people that you enjoy being around. Comedy sometimes puts you in places where you just like, I just want to go home.
Yeah, I know. That's something I talk to a lot of people, because every single holiday, I think it's just because we have the hustle in us, but every single holiday I've kind of overstretched myself with shows.
Yeah.
And I do way too many shows. I barely get evenings with my family.
Right.
So this year I was like, I'm going to go home for 2 weeks, which is pretty excessive.
Yeah.
Like, nobody needs quite that much family time, but 2 weeks is a lot. I knew I'd be like ready to just get home and work my ass off, but I wasn't going to do any shows. And then I was like, oh, well, maybe I'll do one in Chicago. Okay. And then Nate Craig asked me to do one in Madison. I was like, I'll do one in Madison, and other ones are coming up. And I'm like, yeah, I guess I'll do. I'm kind of sick of my family. I might as well do. But you live here full time, but you're gone. What would you say? What percent of the month?
Probably about 75% of the month I'm usually gone.
Yeah. It's kind of me too.
Yeah.
What's been your favorite place that you've gone this year?
This year, honestly, Atlanta. I like going to Atlanta. And it's not for comedy. It's just because my grandmother lives there.
Yeah.
So I just go down and kick with my grandma all the time.
Have some time with her.
Yeah. So I take her out to eat and we go kick it, and I like record her, like doing crazy stuff.
Are you close with your grandma?
Oh yeah, super.
Okay, so me too.
Yeah.
My grandma and I actually recorded 2 episodes of this podcast,
Oh,
a
word.
2-parter.
Okay.
Here with him when I was on tour here, well, coming through the Midwest. It was end of August, and it's actually the episode. This is what's really, really fascinating about humanity. You have, I love having a podcast. I love having a space where I can talk with people that I really enjoy, that I like vouch for in some capacity, and I can say this person is somebody I think you should be following and watching their comedy and seeing what they're up to. And I've had people from all places of people that are touring and nobody really knows who they are mainstream here, to big names. My grandma's episode has done the best.
Word.
And it makes me happy. I'm like, okay, people actually do care about just really good fucking stories and not always care about credits. And that's what it comes back to in comedy too, where like you're getting on stage, people are like, what do you want me to say? And you're like, man, I gotta be funny for these people. It's not about the credit list.
Look, let me tell you something.
I knew I was gonna open up a can of worms.
Which camera? Which camera? This camera right here. Dear comedians that have done laughs on Fox or whatever the fuck it is that you think is the shit that's gonna blow you up, right? No knock to your credits, but the people don't give a shit. They don't care. First of all, they drunk. They drunk than a motherfucker. They're not going to remember you, your name, anything. If you're funny, then they'll remember something you said, and they'll go home and try to quote your jokes. But other than that, if you're not fucking Tracy Morgan, fucking Dave Chappelle, fucking Bill Burr, if you're not one of those people, they don't give a shit.
They don't.
Stop giving out these long ass biographies for people to like, hey man, here's my bio. I want you to read everything. I'm not reading any of that shit. You've seen him tonight. Here he comes.
Yeah.
Like that's who you are. Just be funny, man.
And that's a thing that I feel like the more confident and better you get at what you do, that you're okay with. Like I rarely give anybody a credit. And if I do, it might be something I work like a passion project that I have coming out or something. Because I'm like, I want it to be in people's ears. Yeah. And like, they'll be looking for it. But no, you don't drop those little, like, she's been on Fox and NBC and CBS. And you're like, what, a guest star? Like, you wouldn't know.
I was the person that said, hey, on Chicago Fire. Like, well, I give a shit.
I've been on every network. And sometimes it's embarrassing because, like, people they'll dig up your credits and they'll put you out like, so-and-so is coming to play here. They've been on NBC, VH1, MTV. And I'm like, no, I didn't have like my own fucking show on.
Right. Because they do that. They think that's going to put asses in seats. And at the end of the day, it's like, if people don't already know you,
100%.
This isn't going to make them show up.
100%.
Like, especially when I do stuff now, it's like, okay, I've done a nice amount of things, but I still don't give a shit about credits. Like, when people ask me when I'm coming on stage and they're like, hey, Murph, what do you want me to say today? I'm like, I don't give a shit. And that's usually my response. I'm like, or if I'm doing a college and they're like, what do you want me to say when I bring you up? Nothing. Just, I'm T Murph from Chicago. Yeah. And that's it. Because college students, they don't watch the same thing that we watch. They don't give a shit.
Instagram.
Right. So if you're not an Instagram sensation or on Wild 'N Out, they don't give a shit about who you are. Now, once they see you're funny, at the end, I can say, oh, by the way, I've done this, this, and this. Follow me. And then I'll get, 60 to 300 followers depending on who's there. But now I've proved that I'm funny.
Do you know this year there has been 5 kind of notable times that I was recognized just like out. 2 of them were in Vegas when I was sitting next to some pool by kids that were like between 21 and 24 because they saw me on Instagram on the Laugh Factory's page.
Yeah.
That is your credit now.
That's how it works. Should I have a half hour? I've done fucking guest roles, all this other weird shit where I've had like pretty nice roles on TV.
Sure.
And the only thing I ever get recognized from is this show on All Def Digital called Roast Me, where we sit in a classroom and we just roast each other. Like I've had, and it's grown men though who walk up like, oh shit, oh yo, my mans, yo you roast T Murph. I'm like, yeah. Oh, this shit crazy, bro. And they like, and it's weird like having that be a show that people recognize you from because they think that they can roast you now. So it's like I'm out with my family, you know what I mean, like chilling.
You're like, my grandma's here.
Yeah, and like it's me and my son, and they like, what up, T Murph? You on roast? I'm like, oh yeah, yo, little head ass. I'm like, hey, bro, relax, bro. Hey, relax, motherfucker. You don't even know me like that, man. My son's standing right here, like, hey, we'll fight. Like, don't do that.
Yeah.
But that's how people get down now. That's
exactly.
what it is.
And are you born and raised in Chicago?
No. I'm born and raised in Kankakee, Illinois.
Okay.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
Tell us a little bit about Kankakee. For those people that don't know, I don't know a lot about Kankakee.
Well, Kankakee, man, it's a smaller version of Chicago. Is really what it is, right?
Is it? Like, I figured it was way more like corn fed than that.
Hell no.
No?
Hell no. So you have Kankakee, like Bradley and Bourbonnais, right?
Right.
So Kankakee is where most of the black people stay in Kankakee. So you have like black and like the Hispanics stay in Kankakee. And then when you get to like Bradley and Bourbonnais, that's where like the white people stay. So Kankakee is like it's the hood. Like I don't really know any other way to explain it. Yeah. So it's like if you get off on exit 312 and you start riding, you'll be like, "Am I Harvey? What the fuck is this?" Like that's how it looks. So a lot of people have this misconception that Kankakee is like this super like suburban, like people think it's a suburb of Chicago.
That's totally what I thought.
Yeah, and I'm like, no, Kankakee is its own county. So it's like Kankakee County.
Yeah.
So yeah, like I mean, Kankakee, it was. If you're familiar, which most people probably aren't, but if you're familiar with like gangs in Chicago, right? You have like the GDs and like Latin Kings, all this shit. All those gangs are there. Yeah. Like and what happens? Is, they're all there. And like the largest meeting that the GDs, the Gangster Disciples, ever had was in Kankakee, Illinois, at a park. Shit. Yes, it was like 50,000 of them.
You know, every time I do a recording in Chicago, because I had Joey Villagomez on this summer, and I learned the most about gangs here. And I have, there's a lot of gangs in LA too, and in New York. But the gangs of New York have a whole, they sing songs. And so they're like the pussy, I don't know. But I lived here, but I didn't grow up here. My mom did, my grandma did. So they were all exposed to all this kind of stuff. Yeah. And I just kind of got it on like little snippets in the summer at my auntie's house.
Calvin Evans in chat says Kankakee is where criminals go hide outside of city limits.
It is though. Yeah. It is though. In all honesty, so it's like if you have warrants in the city of Chicago, you run to Kankakee, which is fucking 45 minutes south.
Right? Like they're not gonna find you there.
They're like, oh yeah, I'm in a non-extradition part of the state. Like no, motherfucker, they can bring you home.
You're not in Monaco, bro.
They can get you. But like that's what it was. Like when I was growing up, I used to get jumped on all the time by like the vice lords in Kankakee. Like that was some shit that used to happen. So all of my cousins were GDs. Yeah. So it was like, okay, I might not want to be in a gang, but I got to be something else so that I can fuck them up because I'm tired of these dudes kicking my ass.
Yeah, and that's kind of what Joey was saying. He was like, if you're in a neighborhood, you're not. It's not like you conscientiously join a gang.
Yeah.
You're just, are you friends with these people?
So
you're in that gang.
Period.
And I was like, I didn't realize it even works that way.
Hell yeah.
But yeah, that makes sense.
Because I mean,
you're either in this gang or in that gang.
Because what happens is if they get into it with somebody that you're around, then you're a part of that. So they're going to fuck you up if they can't get to this part because we know you're with them all the time.
Yeah, exactly.
So yeah, and it's like, I'm not going to be with the people that's kicking my ass. Like, no, I need to be with somebody that can kick their ass. Motherfuckers kept stealing my bike and shit, beating me up in school. I got tired of that shit. I was like, yeah, I got to be able to fuck them up too.
Exactly. So what was that like? Like, did you have a lot of siblings, or were you just kind of out there on your own, like with your friends?
Well, no, I'm the oldest sibling.
Okay. So you were the protector.
Right. So there was nobody to protect me.
Yeah. So you needed those people.
Right. Mm-hmm. So, and when I was growing up, like my mom, I have a big family. So my mom was always against that friend shit. Like she doesn't trust people. You know, one of my aunts was murdered when I was young. So she doesn't trust people. So she's like, you have family. Like, and I'm like, oh, that's my friend. She's like, I'm your friend. Like that's how my mom.
Yeah, I'm your blood.
Right. Mm-hmm. I'm your friend because she's like friends will turn on you. And I mean, as I got older, I realized that. Like, because it's true. That's what happens. You have friends that'll fucking leave you out to dry when you're in need or whatever.
Yeah.
Or do some shady shit. But your family is always there for you. So I always hung with my cousins. So it was just like all of us were like around the same age, between the ages. Like we were different between 2 and 3 years. But we would all hang together. It'd be like 5 or 6 of us. So, yeah, that's
how my cousins are here too.
Yeah, so that's who I was with all the time, and they just so happen to be GDs too. So
yeah, go figure, right? Well, and that's a thing that, like, you know, and I feel like there's so many people that misconstrue what actually goes on in like the South Side of Chicago. Yeah. I hated that when I lived in Chicago, that I would really rally for Chicago when I would be in LA or in New York, and I'd be like, Chicago's amazing. Mm-hmm. I feel sick. I was a young, stupid, early 20s person when I lived here, and I definitely didn't always watch. I always felt like I had a mouth on myself, but that was it. I didn't have like a lot of skills to back up anything.
Okay.
And I always ended up being fine in Chicago because I had my cousins. I always knew that somebody was watching out for me. If something went wrong, that person would get murdered. Mm-hmm. We used to say that.
She had them people.
It's true, though.
She had them people, squad.
My cousin Ray would take somebody out for me, and I know that to this day. But I felt
anybody named Ray.
I know. I'm serious.
Anybody named Ray.
Ray, I love you.
It was a Ray on Colors back in the day. Remember that? Remember the movie? Deuce here, Ray. That's my son, Ray. Ray was a killer.
Ray just had, I mean, my whole
South Central. That was South Central, wasn't it?
Double name, any double name I'm scared of. And
Ray.
You know.
My nickname was Tay growing up. Tay.
What does the T stand for? I don't think I. Do you need to? Yeah, do you ever tell that?
No, I don't. Because you know why I don't say it? Because people that know me, right, before stand up, like they call me by my government name or my nickname that like my family gave me. So that means if I hear somebody say that, then I know that you actually know
you,
me, right? And I can embrace you differently than if somebody walk up like, oh, Murph. It's like, oh, okay, you know me from this
comedy,
you know. But if you know me outside of that, it's like, oh shit, like what's up?
Yeah,
it's like with this. Like, the industry is fickle, man.
I understand.
It's fickle. And it's
Trust
like,
me.
you know, people love you one minute, the next minute they hate you. So you just got to kind of wrap this shit.
It's not even just that. It's just whatever's hot.
Yeah.
Like, you know, and I've realized this living in LA, and the reason that I take so many things into my own hands and make whatever I want to make, even if it's just fucking clothes. Yeah. Like, if something doesn't exist that I want to, I just make it.
Yeah.
Because people are in each other's ears. If somebody thinks somebody's great for some reason, they'll convince everybody else that they're great. Mm-hmm. And all of a sudden they're all hyped up, and then they don't really have anything to stand on, whether it be just even the slightest bit of business skills, which you need in this industry so hard to make it once you pop.
Exactly.
And that's why the time is great to put in, that let alone these people that are just starting and get a lot of fire behind them. That doesn't always equate to anything. Yeah,
because they don't have the skills to sustain, and that's the difference. Like I look at a lot of internet comics and people get mad at like internet sensations.
Yeah.
Like other stand-ups. I really don't give a shit.
Same.
I'm not gonna lie to you. Like some of my best friends are internet comics.
Well, you were talking about Tony Baker. I mean,
Yeah.
I have people that will text me and be like, "Did you see what Tony posted today?"
Yeah.
I mean, but he's also a fantastic comedian.
Oh yeah, Tony's the shit.
So you can't shit on anything he does. It's all brilliant. It's all brilliant.
See, Tony started shit. Man, I don't know. What about 15, 20, almost 20 years ago, maybe?
Yeah.
And a lot of people don't know that. They just know him from the voiceovers.
Yeah.
But like when it comes to stand-up comedy, like Tony's one of the top comedians performing right now, hands down. Like, dude, I watch him. I'm a fan of his. We're friends.
Yeah.
Like, so when I saw that, things were taken off for him on the social media side of it, I was like, man, I was proud of that because like, man, he's put in so much work. It's dope that he's finally going to be out here, touring, selling tickets. Him to hear.
He did it on his own. I had him on this podcast in LA, and like they created that. He created the opportunity for himself to tour.
Yep.
And they sell their own tickets.
Yep.
It's the same shit I do, but on a much larger scale.
Mm-hmm.
Because they knew they had the talent to back it up.
Damn right. And like I said, it's him to hear Kev on stage, and they're just killing the game right now. And, I look at all these dudes from even the 85 South show, Carlos Miller and DC Youngfly, Chico Bean. Like, I know all of these dudes. And it's like, I remember when DC first started, he was just like this funny kid on the internet. Everybody's like, oh, shit, that's must be Chris Tucker's son, right? But it's like now... You watch him and it's like he's coming to his own. Carlos Miller he is one of the funniest people I've ever seen live, ever. Like, this dude is fucking hysterical.
Yeah.
Chico also, to be in that element and hold your own, he's a great stand-up. All these dudes are talented.
And what people don't realize too that aren't stand-ups, like to have a stand-up who's successful and talented and extremely funny, say that about other people is the highest compliment you can get as a stand-up comedian.
Because I mean, we're fans of other comics, and that's what a lot of people don't understand. It's like, because you don't know them, you feel like, oh, they must not be funny or whatever. Yeah. There's a lot of comics that you don't know who the fuck they are, but they're some of the funniest people out there. When you put them on the microphone, the only difference is somebody big hasn't co-signed them, or the industry hasn't pushed them. So
or they don't know how to market.
Exactly. Yeah. So right now they're just building it. It's grassroots, and they're building it from the ground up. But when you put a microphone in their hand, now the audience is like, oh, who the fuck is this guy? It's the same dude we've been telling you about, but you didn't know.
Exactly. So growing up here in Chicago, or in Kankakee, as it were, what were some of the things that you went through? I mean, were there moments that you thought you should have died? Were there moments that you were like, fuck, I made it out of this?
Oh, yeah. A lot of those.
Now I need to do something with myself?
Yeah, you know what's crazy? There were a lot of moments like that, especially for me growing up, because, I stayed involved in a lot of bullshit. And it was just like...
For example?
So the people that I felt closest with were people that were, similar to myself or similar to the situation that I came from. So it's like, if I went to college or whatever, when I did go to SIU, I was in a dance group there. But, a lot of those people I didn't really hang with. Like, I hung with the guys that were from that town, which is Carbondale, Illinois, which were from the other side of the tracks type of thing. You get what I'm saying? So they were from the east side. And those were the hood dudes. But those were the dudes I felt comfortable around because they were similar to myself. And, I mean, I've been jumped on in parties where guys pulled a knife out on me, tried to stab me, and it's like 6 dudes jumping on me. I've had people shoot up my car. Man, I've been chased by the Latin Kings, like where I literally had to get the fuck out of whatever situation I was in. I done been into it with the Black Stones before, like as an adult, like all of these times. And, I have friends that lost their lives behind this. So when I see a lot of times like these rappers or anybody who glorifies gang life and act like they're about that shit and they didn't come from it, I look at it like, what the fuck are you doing? Because who becomes 30 or 25 or whatever, and then decides to start gangbanging? Like, you're fucking lame,
right?
Like
who are you trying to connect with on that level?
Exactly. Like, I've almost lost my life. I have a cousin that I was just talking to that's paralyzed right now. Him and my other cousin were sitting in the car in Kankakee, and they got into it with some dudes. Whooped the dude's ass, and of course, how it always plays out. Dude comes back, catch my cousin sitting in the car, shoots both of them multiple times while he's in the car. One of my cousins dies. The other one's in a wheelchair right now. Jesus. And this is my younger cousin. So when I said like we all different in ages, he would ride with us. So when we would go places, I would have him with me or whatever. Like this is my baby cousin. So when it happened and he passed away, I felt like I was responsible because
you exposed him to that piece.
And it was just like, damn, it's like, if I would have known better, I would have done better.
Yeah.
But when you're raised in that environment, you don't know shit outside of it. Like, I didn't know anything about college when I was going to it.
Right.
I just went to visit one day. I went to visit my girlfriend who was in college. I saw it. I was like, oh, shit, I want to do this. And I saw, like, the fraternities and shit. I didn't know anything about that. You see that on Spring Bling on BET.
Yeah.
I'm like, I don't know what the fuck this is. So I'm like, I'm like, oh, I'm gonna be the dudes with the gold boots. I'm gonna do that shit, right? And then
crazy.
I ended up going to college, and that, even though I hung with the dudes down there that was similar to the situation I came from, it took me out of the other environment where it was like, okay, shit was still happening. It was shit that I would have had to be involved in because this is my family, and I can't let my family, be out here, in danger and harm's way. So it took me out of that situation. Shit, I lived in Carbondale, Illinois for 10 years. I left in 2003. I didn't come back here until 2013.
Damn.
And when I came back, I was so engulfed in comedy that I wasn't thinking about any of that other shit. My cousin had actually been murdered a year prior to that. Another one of my younger cousins was killed a few months after that. A friend of mine was killed in Chicago on 95th and Wentworth. So it was like I had all these friends and family members dying back to back to back to back to back. And it was just like my other friends were going to prison. I had a friend that's doing life. I have another friend that did like 10 years.
Did these things make you grateful to have gotten out and having been exposed to something different? Or did it make you feel guilty that you weren't here to maybe protect people from that? Or was that not a burden you carried?
Well, the burden, the only person I felt guilty about, and I'm not going to say guilty, was my younger cousin. And it's not a guilt thing, but it's more so damn, I know better now. So it's like, if I could have told him now, back then, what I know, it was like, okay, things would have been different, but we didn't know any better. We wanted the nice cars. We wanted the motorcycles. We wanted the big house. So it was like the only people that we knew had all that shit were the dudes who were like selling drugs or fucking gangbanging or whatever. It's like, I don't want to fucking go to work every day for fucking 12 hours. That shit's lame. Yep. Like, who wants to do that?
It doesn't matter if you grow up in like a really vanilla town or a city that's hard and has gangs and all that. Yeah. Whatever you know is all you know. Exactly. So it's not this person's fault for not knowing this side, and it's not this person's fault for not knowing college existed. Exactly. It's just what you're exposed to. It's all you have to know. And even when I went to college, it's like I didn't finish. I went to college for 1 year, and I stayed in the town for 10. So crazy. What made you do that? Wait.
Well, I ended up getting an apartment, so it was my first time outside of my mom's house.
What did you go to college for?
I wanted to be a director. I used to watch like Hype Williams videos and like Director X.
So you knew you had like the entertainment.
Oh yeah. So my mom was super involved in my life. So it's like I used to do like acting as a kid. I was in drama class. She used to drive me back and forth to Piven School of Theater. When I
okay.
When I had a scholarship as a kid, and my mom was super involved. It's just like,
so you knew that you had this in you, but yet you didn't have anything else but the environment that you had. Exactly,
because it's like, okay, you can do all these things you want to do with your children, right? But whoever they're around the majority of the time is who they're going to want to be like. Yeah. Like, oh, I'm doing all this acting shit. I don't want to do this shit.
It's true.
Fucking, they got makeup on me and shit. I'm looking weird.
You can't show that to other people.
Yeah, you got me in a private school, so now I got like this proper voice. And so like when I do go back to the public school, now the kids looking like, what the fuck wrong with him? So I sound different.
Yeah.
And it's like, nah, fuck that. I'm not doing this. You got
two different worlds for you.
I'm looking like a clown. I can't. Mom, you got me fucked up. I can't do this. Because your parents, of course, like I said, they're gonna want to try to raise you better, but you still have to go to school with these kids. You have to see these kids every day.
Every day.
So it's like, as much as you want me to be different, I have to blend in with what I'm around. So unless you change the full environment of where we're at, this shit ain't gonna work for me.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So you went to school for directing. When did you start feeling like comedy might have been a right direction for you?
Probably around like 2008, 2009. Because when I went to school for directing, like I told you, I didn't know anything about college. I didn't have any family members that were close to me that went to college. I was the first one in my family. So I didn't know that you had to take 2 years of prereqs to get to So I'm sitting here. I'm like, man, I fucking know what English is. Why am I taking this shit again?
Yeah, right.
And math. I'm like, bitch, I know how to count. Like, I can count money. Why am I count? I'm not going to count the film. Like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah.
So I hated it. It was whack. I had to take music 113. That shit was trash. I was like, it was terrible. I was like, we're not learning about any music that I like. I don't, Beethoven, I don't want to hear this shit. So.
You're like, I was just talking to my mom about that because, like, I was like, I want us to have a Bone Thugs Christmas next Christmas.
Yeah, it's shit that you have to do. I think about all the shit. I remember I took African American studies, which is now Africana studies. I took that, and they were like, "Why are you taking that?" I'm like, "Shit, I'm black, so this is gonna be easy, right?" Like,
dude, I hate how they like fuck you up with that stuff because I had to take a history. I had done all my AP. Like I was on the reverse side. I was told that you wouldn't get through college in 4 years unless you took all AP classes in your senior year of high school. So I did all that. And since I'd taken history, what they don't tell you is you fuck yourself because you can't take basic history now when you get to college. You have to take some like different kind of history that's more specific to something you don't give a shit about.
Exactly.
So I took a class called Jesus in History.
Wow.
Because I was like, oh, I grew up, I know the Bible.
I got
There's
this.
only one history of Jesus. Like I probably remember most of it,
Yeah.
And turns out it was all philosophical points of view from different religious perspectives of what Jesus's life was like.
Yeah.
And the person who taught our lecture hall was a devout Catholic, and then my what do they call the private group or whatever? Your like smaller class session with like 10 people in it. They were an atheist.
Okay.
So I had to write a paper that made both of them happy. How do you make a devout Catholic and an atheist happy in 10 pages? Like
Jesus is real, but not. What the fuck?
JK, but yeah, I mean, that's the crazy thing about. So you're taking these classes for directing, but you're actually listening to Beethoven and Mozart.
Exactly, and I never even made it to that part of it, right? I never even got to any film classes. I never got to buy any cameras and any of this shit. I was taking photography classes. I was like, this shit is whack.
So you didn't get to learn any piece of...
So like I say, the first year, because your first year, you're just taking all your core classes.
Yeah.
And then after that, I was just like, man, I ended up getting kicked out of SIU. Because my GPA was fucking terrible because I was taking...
You weren't interested in
shit. I was taking classes that I didn't like. Mm-hmm. So, like I went to like the junior college there, like the year after, and then they cut me like my financial aid check, and I was like, well, that's enough of these classes.
Yeah.
Got my check. Peace.
Yeah, exactly. So what did you do in that moment when you decided to leave college?
Well, I was a barber. So I was cutting hair in high school.
That.
Yeah, I was cutting hair in high school, and I actually went I was smart. My best friend growing up actually got me into a cosmetology program. Right, my best friend that's growing up used to date Lupe Fiasco's ex-girlfriend. This is a true story. He's date Lupe's ex-girlfriend.
Oh my God.
He is now not interested in women at all. He is super gay, right? He has flipped all the way to the other side.
Lupe Fiasco?
No, not Lupe.
I was like, what? I didn't know that.
Like, so he got me in this cosmetology program, right? And I was like, what the fuck is cosmetology? Now he used to like do hair and shit. I'm like, man, I don't want to do no fucking hair. I'm like, I'm not doing that shit. But he was like, no, they like you can be a barber once you finish. And I was like, oh, word. So I did a little research on it, and it was true. Cosmetologists can practice as barbers. So I was like, oh, I can get my barber's license when I'm done. I won't have to work a regular job. I can just cut hair. Mm-hmm. So that was like the smartest thing I ever did growing up, thanks to my homie Avery.
And this was before college.
Yeah. So this was your junior year and your senior year in high school. You take this.
That's awesome.
Because Kankakee had a career center. Kankakee Area Career Center where you could go learn automotive. You could learn like different computer programming. Yep. You could learn barbering or cosmetology as you call it. And I went and shit. When I finished, well, I actually didn't finish, but I had enough skill as far as like floor hours or whatever that I could work in any shop. So when I left, like one of my guys opened up a barbershop in 2006, and I was still in Carbondale, and he was like, hey man, I want to show you the shop. Took me by the shop, and I was like, man, I want to work here. And he gave me my first shot at the shop, my homeboy Shane. And that changed my life as far as like working in the shop, and like we was cracking jokes all the time. And that's
well, also what that does because not that bartending and serving is that much different, but I mean, it kind of like it teaches you can be your own boss.
Exactly.
It teaches you that there are options that are other than a 9 to 5, because I've never worked a 9 to 5, and I'm very grateful for that, even through the shit that I did work.
Yeah.
That I knew from the get-go that I needed to be somebody who would create a way to work for myself. And that there were hours, like, even if I were to work a shit ton of hours, at least I would have control over those.
Right.
So that's a cool thing to have known at a young age.
Yeah, and it was dope because I made more money as a barber than I've ever made doing like any other job outside of stand-up. Like, I mean, I bought a BMW as a barber. I had a 745 as a barber. I had a motorcycle as a barber. I had a Riviera with 22s on it. I had a 1998 pearl white Riviera. I had my own place. Like I was balling, bro. Like I was as a barber. So when it came to stand up, like people always ask me like, how do you do all this? How do you get this? How do you blah, blah? I'm like, dude, I hustle this shit. Like if I was on the streets, I hustle barbering like I hustled on the streets. I hustle comedy like I hustle on the street. It's the same. You apply same hustle to the shit. Yeah. It's like I'm not gonna sit down and be broke ever.
Yeah. You got to get your own clients.
Yeah.
You gotta get your own gigs.
Yeah. So I refuse to be broke. Like I can't. I'm not. No.
So when you left school, what then parlayed you into finding comedy?
So when I left school, I was always the funny dude, right? Everybody like, damn, you funny as hell, bro. You funny as hell. Hey, bro, you should host our step show. You should host our whatever. So I started like hosting little shit around campus. Yeah. And I wasn't even in college though. But I would host, like I hosted the step show for the Sigmas one year, and I just remember like I was getting people riled up. We was playing music with the DJ, and I said something on stage that fucking made people lose their mind. I think it's maybe like 2008, 2009. Fucking, I needed a chair brought up to the stage, and like this security guard brings me the chair, and this is a black step show. Security guard's white. He hands me the chair, and he's walking away, and I just look at him after he hands me the chair, and it's like, how times have changed. And the whole the whole fucking place goes. And I was just like, oh shit. I was like, all right. And it was one of those moments where I was like, oh, I like this feeling.
Feeling the energy of the laughter.
And they were fucking dying. They was like, yeah. I'm like, back to work. And I just kept fucking with them and shit, And this was like before I even like started doing stand up. I was just, like I say, just randomly hosting shit. I would host concerts or other things that they had on campus. In 2010, a lot of my customers, they would always tell me, man, you missed your calling, bro. You missed your calling as a stand up. You missed like comedy that's your calling.
You never miss your calling, by the way.
But they kept telling me this shit. So I was like, you know what? I started Googling again. And I found an open mic in Carbondale, Illinois that was ran by Kyle Scanlon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Fuck.
And at the time I didn't know who the fuck Kyle was. I didn't know I didn't know what any of this was. I was just like comedy, so and funny. It popped up, and I was like, you know what, fuck it, let me try this shit. And so I told everybody, I'm like, I'm gonna go. I'm gonna go. And when I was nervous as fuck. Like, I mean, I had been on stage in front of 200 or 300 people at that point in time. I was never nervous because I wasn't like, I'm not doing no comedy. I'm just up here talking. Yeah. But now it's like I need to format a set, go up here and make people laugh, talking about my life. And when I went up there, I invited, I want to say maybe like 15, 20 people showed up for me at this open mic in Carbondale, Illinois. And
what year was this?
This was 2010, August of 2010.
Okay.
And
that was exactly when I started.
Yeah. And fucking, I was talking. I told a story about when I got robbed here in Chicago. I was leaving a party on the south side of Chicago at this spot called, I think, what was the Armory or something like that. It's on Cottage Grove. I was leaving there, and I walked on the side street, and these dudes like hopped out this truck and robbed me and two of my cousins. One of my cousins saw it happen, and he walks away. Like, he sees the guys coming, he just walks the fuck away from us. He doesn't say shit to us. He just leaves. No. Like, we're walking, and you just see this motherfucker just. Where the fuck is you going? And I look up. And now 3 dudes surround me and my other cousin. And like my other cousin that's with me, Jimmy, is high. He's high. So he's getting robbed, but he doesn't give a shit. Yeah. Like, he don't give a fuck. He's getting robbed. He's high and shit. And he like, hey, man,
Take it.
And he's like not giving these dudes anything. He's throwing out like gum wrappers. He had a link card. Like, it was. I was like, is that an EBT card? Motherfucker, he threw it on the ground. like empty Winter Fresh wrappers, and dude was like, man, give me the shit. He's like, hey, don't piss with me because the nigga do think he cute. Like this is the shit he said.
No.
I swear to God, during the ride.
My God.
I'm nervous as fuck because we got 3 dudes and 3 guns. I'm like, yo, that's too many guns. Like y'all, one person need a gun. You can rob us both. Like, so like I'm shaking, and like now the dude is like that's robbing me is shaking, and he started screaming shit like, be still. And I was like, motherfucker, lead by example. Like that was that's some real shit. I was like, hey, nigga, like, hey, you gonna shoot me? Like I'm small. You can't. You're gonna hit some shit I need. Like I can't. My body's compact.
And if you're both shaking, the odds are nothing will get hit, you know?
So they, like the dude that was robbing me, you could tell he was the beginner because he was nervous. The other guy, clearly he's had some classes, right? He's done this before because like he's getting ready to rob, he's getting ready to pistol whip. I was like, look at the form on this dude, right? His shit was phenomenal. And he was robbing my cousin. I was like, can we switch? You know what I'm saying? Like, because this dude gonna shoot me. So I'm trying to crack jokes to like make the shit go by. They run off and hop in the truck. And they left all of my shit still laying on the ground. I had a brand new pocket PC phone that I bought. It was like an $800 phone. It was laying on the ground. So I was like, oh, they left my shit and my Bluetooth. So I go to pick up my stuff. The guy that was more advanced at robbing saw that my shit was still on the ground, got back out of the car. As I'm reaching to grab my stuff, all I see is a hand with a gun start slapping my hands out of the goddamn way.
No.
Slap my hands out of the way. Picked up my phone and shit and ran off. So I got robbed twice in 20 seconds. Like it was, I was so mad. But that was the first joke that I used to tell on stage. And it wasn't a joke. It was really just
real.
the story of what the fuck happened. And people were like, oh, this shit is amazing. I was like, but it wasn't when it was happening. Like I got fucking robbed.
That's such a like. What people don't realize is funny people that get a catalyst like that.
Yeah.
Like that's probably one of the worst moments in your life for a minute.
I was so mad. First of all, I went from terrified to mad as fuck. And the fucked up part is I had a gun on me, but guess what? It was in the car, and we got robbed right outside of the car. That was locked.
You couldn't be like, hold on.
Hold on, let me get mine too. Like, what the fuck am I gonna say?
We gotta make this fair.
Let me get mine too. I would have shot us all. I was like, fuck, man. I got robbed, and I only had like $10. So they robbed me for $10. Then I started calling my phone. After they robbed me, I started calling the phone. I was like, you motherfucker. I'm like, man, you might as well bring my shit back. I ain't gonna do nothing but report it stolen and you can't use it. Like, that don't sound tough.
Yeah,
like, that's,
right.
Dude was hanging up on me with my own phone. I was so mad. I was so mad. I had just bought that phone like the day before. $800.
Damn.
$800 fucking dollars.
Damn.
Yeah,
they were that
mad.
Expensive then?
Hell yeah.
I don't know.
The pocket PC? Fuck yeah.
Yeah, I suppose so. Yeah. So how did you end up on stage after that?
So, like I said, they kept telling me that I needed to do it, right? So I signed up for this open mic. I went. I had all these people come. And these are the stories. The ones that I'm telling you right now are the stories that I told on stage.
What were some of the other stories?
So I have a story about my brother. My younger brother and my younger sister are both gay. Right, so it's 5 of us, and my youngest brother and the youngest sister are gay. And it's my mom used to ask me, how did I know my younger brother was gay growing up? Because I told her I knew, and she was like, well, how did you know? I was like, fuck, he was in high school jumping double dutch. Like, how the fuck did you know? I was like, what straight boys do you know are fucking jumping rope? Like, mine, that's not, like, I'm like, all the girls outside, and this motherfucker's like doing, and I would talk about how we get ready in the rope, and he would hold his chest when he would get in the rope like he had titties, and I was like, get your fucking hands off your chest. So my mom would always laugh at that. So I would tell that story on stage, and people were like, oh, this is fucking amazing. And I was just like, man, it's just my family. So it's like I have one of the most diverse families ever because it's 5 of us. 4 of my siblings are adopted, and 2 of them are gay.
Damn.
Yeah. So this is, so when people start talking that shit, I'm like, hey, motherfucker, your background and your upbringing is nowhere near close to what the fuck I experienced.
It's just you and one other sibling that's
just me.
Blood. It's just you.
Yep.
So all of them are adopted, but
Yep.
you, and 2 of them are gay.
Yep. And those
That's
those two are actually biological siblings.
Oh yeah, that's how my aunt and uncle adopted 2 biological siblings 2 different times.
Yeah. So I always crack jokes on my sister and my brother and shit like that. That's why I hear people all the time like, you can't make jokes about gay people and that's that. I'm like, you can say whatever the fuck you want to say as long as it's tasteful. You don't bash anybody and you can talk shit because you can't tell me I can't talk about my own personal experiences. You know, this is my family. So my sister fucking my middle brother, he's straight, right? Now he'll call me right before I get married. He'll be like, hey bro, man, put me on some hoes. I be like, motherfucker, ask your sister. Like, what are you like?
Right?
Like she got all the hoes. Like,
yeah,
like she light skin with baby hair. She's got hoes. so but it's funny now because like my sister got like, she just cut her hair off recently, but she has like dreadlocks and shit like that. And she walked in my house last Christmas, and my son saw her, and he was like, he's 8, so he doesn't know. So she walks in, he goes, oh hey Uncle Mimi. I fucking died.
No.
I was crying. My mom was like, see, shit, he confused. What the fuck do you want him to say? I'm in tears. And my sister like, oh, you wow. me and her still laugh about that shit to this day. She was like, shit, she's like, I mean, he don't know, because I'm like, she called you Uncle Mimi. He's 8 years old. You can't be mad at that. And also, I'll never be that funny. Like that, I'll never be funnier than an 8-year-old.
That's so natural.
Because he was just sitting there, he's looking at us like, what?
It's natural and honest and doesn't.
He's like, what? And he's looking at us. He's like, well, I don't know. He's like, well, I don't want to call her Aunt Mimi. He's like, because he's like, I know. He's like, I know Mimi's a girl, but Mimi dressed like a boy. He's like, so I'm going to call her Uncle Mimi. And he's like, because I want to be respectful. And my sister, we still laugh about that. I have a post up right now where I was like, me and Uncle Mimi, and people are dying. I was like, I didn't write that. I stole it from my son.
Yeah. My God.
I joke jacked him.
When did you have? How old is your son now?
He's 8. He's actually.
He
8,
is 8 now.
Yeah,
okay.
He's 8, yeah.
So how did that end up? Because you've been doing stand-up for 10 years. You obviously had a kid in the midst of that. So you started getting into stand-up. I assume you did it in that smaller market at first.
Yep.
And then when did you parlay into Chicago?
Like 6 months later.
Oh, so it wasn't that long.
No, so I started in August. Hell, that wasn't even 6 months, probably 4 months. So August, September, October, November, December. So December was my first time performing at Jokes and Notes in Chicago.
I love that club.
So now I didn't know. I knew Little Real before I started doing stand up. I met Little Real back in like 2004. So he used to come to SIU all the time. So I knew Little Real, I knew Michi Hall, and Damn Fool. I knew these guys before stand up. But I went to Chicago, and it would always be either the Wednesday after Christmas or the Wednesday before Christmas, like that little break area there, where Jokes and Notes would just be packed off the wall for like that open mic. And it, like, if you know Jokes and Notes, it's not an open mic, it's like a showcase. Yeah. So it's like, yeah, it's open mic, but not really. Yeah. Because if I don't know
bring your own. Yeah.
If I don't know you and I don't know you're funny, you won't be going up. Yeah. And you're also not going to the fucking showroom. So
but it's one of the funnest. Like I did that room before I left Chicago, and that's the kind of room that if you crush in that room, oh yeah, nothing feels better. Nowhere. So I had called. I had my wife's father call him and Ballhead Phillips are good friends. So he called Ballhead and told Ballhead, hey, I got this young dude. He wants to do comedy. He was like, can you put him up tonight? Ballhead was like, is he funny? He was like, shit, I don't know. I just met the motherfucker. But, you know, he said he wanted to perform. So Ballhead called Marlon Mitchell. And Marlon Mitchell was hosting that night. So Marlon put me up this night. Fucking D. Ray Davis was on the show. Fucking Ray Lapowski, Lil Rel, Ballhead Phillips, Marlon Mitchell. It was like all these fucking heavy hitters, Vanessa Fraction, all these people who have all these credits, and then they're gonna put me up right in the midst of all this shit. Yeah. And I'm like, man, I'm nervous as fuck, right? And Mike Vaughn, I don't know if you remember Mike Vaughn. Yes.
So Mike Vaughn went up right before me, right? Mike Vaughn bombed so hard.
Oh my God.
He bombed so hard. He went on stage high as fuck. I mean, high. Ooh. Like, he started talking about how, like, some shit on the wall looked like popcorn and some other shit in a room full of 150 black people. You talking about popcorn with a fucking lumberjack hat on. Jesus. These white, look, I mean, these black people looking at Mike Vaughn like, what the fuck is wrong with this? Is he off acid? Like, what the fuck? So Marlon Mitchell goes on stage after Mike Vaughn dies, right? Marlon goes on stage. He goes, I don't know what the fuck was going on. I was in the bathroom taking a piss. This old lady opened the door and said, you need to come get this motherfucker off stage right now. See, I couldn't even shake all the way. I had to run back in there.
He's got his dick in his
I got piss running down my leg right now. You got to get your ass off this stage. So now people dying. It's wild. People fucking dying laughing.
Oh, man.
He goes, hey, so this next dude coming to the stage, man, this super funny brother, man, known him for a real long time. He say, man, let me stop lying. I don't know this motherfucker. Matter of fact, the nigga who just left off stage, this his little brother. I swear
no.
And brought me up to that. I get on stage. First thing out my mouth was, I don't know what y'all heard, but I don't know that motherfucker that just left off stage. I cut all ties to Mike Vine immediately. And then I go into my set. I still have that set on YouTube. And I did 3 minutes, got a fucking great reaction. I left the stage like, yeah, man, like I'm finna make it. I didn't make it, right? But but I ended up getting like Little Rail was like, hey man, you funny, man, blah blah blah. And then next thing you know, Rail ended up having a weekend at Jokes and Notes maybe like 6 months after that, and told Mary he wanted me to feature for him. And so that was my first weekend featuring at Jokes and Notes, and I was less than a year in.
Yeah.
I was less than a year in. And shout out to Mike Vine because that's my homie. But hey, you know you bombed that night. You set me up bad.
It happens. It happens. And there's two really, like, it's almost better to follow somebody wildly famous and talented than it is to follow a bomb.
Oh yeah, because the audience doesn't believe in anybody.
The audience
at that point.
hates everything at that point.
It's like, if we don't know you,
energy suck.
If we don't know you already, fuck you.
Yeah.
Because we feel like you're gonna be like the last person.
Yep. Exactly. Yeah. Exactly. And that it's funny that you say that Chicago. It's honestly the best. This is just the best city to start in.
Oh hell yeah!
It really is, because people don't expect you to be doing a showcase show. They expect to find people here that are undiscovered, and that's how I ended up getting my into LA. Was that I was at an open mic that Thomas Bottoms used to run. Remember Bottoms? Yeah. I tell people about his name and that he's gay, and they're like, there's no way that's real.
It's like Bottoms.
I know.
Look, I'm gonna say it until you laugh.
I know,
Bottoms.
and he's the sweetest, and you know, I mean, you just have to have that. It's the perfect last name. Anyway, when I
had to do one last time. I'm sorry. I had to do one last time.
Bottoms. But I was doing one of his mics, and Guy Branum had been at it, who was open. He was writing for Chelsea Lately at the time. So they asked me to come and open some show they were doing in Boys Town with him and Justin Martindale. And then I got to meet Justin and got to introduced to some people at Comedy Store. And that was such a big turning point for me. And I was only 6 months in at that point. But like, you know, you get these people that come in from Los Angeles or from New York, or people that are already established, and they see somebody up and coming, and they're like, ooh, that person, and they just remember your name, and it's just, you know, it's such a game changer for you at that young point in your career. Granted, you have a shit ton of work to do from that point. But it's great to have, you know, somebody come here not expecting or not knowing what they're going to find, and then finding wild talent. I couldn't
get up in LA when I first started going there at all. I remember the first time I went, I was just like, oh man, I'm funny, and they were like, yeah, that's what everybody says, and they just kept fucking like walking off on me, and I was just like, what is this shit? And I ended up booking Comic View. I booked BET Comic View in 2013, so I was less than 3 years in. Less than like 2.5 years in, I booked the BET, which is Comic amazing View when it came back. And then when I was there, like now, it was different when it aired, because I did 12 minutes and it only aired 4, so I looked fucking horrible on TV. But when I was there, I got a standing ovation. All the comics that were there. So
they edited it down?
They edited all the fuck the way that, which I didn't know anything about that.
Yeah.
I was just performing for the audience that was there.
You didn't know, yeah.
So Sidney Castillo was there, James Davis, D-Lay, Amber Bickham, who now books like a ton of shit. I just worked with her recently on Laugh Tracks again. But all of these guys, like James has written for fucking everything, had his own shows. Sydney is currently writing for Wild 'N Out, has sold a few shows, wrote for the BET and MTV Awards. D-Lay is fucking touring his ass off, working with Bill Bellamy. And I met most of these guys, well, all of these guys, when I did that. So now when I went to LA the next time, I could do any fucking show I wanted to.
Yeah.
Because all of these guys are like, oh, no, this motherfucker funny.
Yeah.
And that's all it takes is for somebody that's in that circle to vouch for you. Oh, man, I can work the store. I can work the Improv, Chocolate Sundays. I can go work any other regular mainstream night, the Laugh Factory, the alt rooms. Like when I go to LA now, they're like, why didn't you tell us you were here? Because I don't want to perform for $3.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, and you know, it's that thing where you have to either look at what the money's going to be or what the what the exposure, the clout is going to be. And it's got to be a combination of the two.
It has to be. Yeah, like you say, I'm looking, it has to be. Because I'm like, the money, the gas money alone to get to most of this shit. I'm just I'm not.
I know.
And you know, initially when I was doing it, you know, I was like, oh man, I gotta do it. I think comedians need to understand, like, there's no one thing that's going to break you.
Right.
Like, we used to chase every fucking show. And granted, like, there may be somebody there that can put you on TV, but most times it probably isn't.
Yeah.
But what I have learned is comedians will book you for more shit than anybody else will.
Yeah.
Like, so comedians are the ones that get TV shows. Comedians are the ones that start producing and executive producing and directing these things.
Yep.
Like, I ended up opening up for Little Rail's hour special that he just did on HBO because of him and Gerard.
Yeah.
Like, him and Gerard, like, yo, Murph is going to be the best person to do this. And fucking they left me in the special and everything. So, but comics book you more than anybody else.
Well, and the most business savvy comics create all their own stuff.
Yeah, you
create all their own ways. And I've seen people make this mistake too many times, especially in LA. I don't mean to generalize like this, but many times the case is somebody fails at something and they work their way into becoming a gatekeeper because
Yeah, get close.
So a lot of people I known have had opportunities to book something and they give an opportunity to a gatekeeper comedian. I mean, not somebody who's actually out there trying to make their craft better, but somebody who has some sort of power because they think now they're going to get booked at this club or booked on this show. And gatekeepers are interchangeable and expendable, and they change out. You give that person an opportunity when you should have given it to somebody else. That gatekeeper now loses their job. Now they don't have any creds, and you've just wasted an opportunity you could have given to somebody who really deserved it. And that's why I like producing certain shows and putting people on that I just fucking love.
Yeah, and see, my thing is, like, here in Chicago, one of the things that I ran into when I first got back here was I was a South Side comic, right?
Right.
And that's some shit that I've learned. It's twofold, right? Because you have South Side comics and you have North Side comics, and you have people up north that'll never fucking go south. You have people out south that'll never fucking go north, and you know who they are because when they do get in those rooms that are, you know, majority black or majority white, you see them struggle.
Yeah.
Right. You see the struggle. So I started going back and forth. And I ran into issues where I couldn't get booked. There were showcases that wouldn't fucking book me, right? And there were clubs that I couldn't get into. And it took people like Little Rail to get me into certain clubs.
Yeah.
It took people like Dave Hellum to vouch for me to get on certain showcases.
Yeah.
And I kept working. And now that I have these, you know, whatever the fuck credits and all this shit, and now it's like, hey, man, we want you to do the show. I can't stop fucking getting enough emails. It's like, man, we need you to do the show. We need you. And I'm just like, I don't want to do this shit no more. Because in the midst of all of that, I started hosting my own show. So I was hosting at the Comedy Bar. I was hosting at Refuge Live. I was hosting at Jokes and Notes. I had a monthly there. And then when Jokes and Notes closed, I started Faded by T Murph, where my first show, I sold 160 tickets. And I've never sold less than that. And my last show,
you built your own brand.
Yeah, I sold over 300 tickets to my last show for people to come see me. So now when it's like people are like, oh, I want you to come, it's like, I might, but it's like when you fuck over comics or people or in general, I get it. You have to make sure people are funny. But if you know they're funny, don't make them run through all these fucking hoops and all this shit because you feel like your show is fucking here. Like, dude, you have to, because you don't know who's going to be who. That's the crazy thing about comedy.
Yeah.
You don't know who the fuck. You can't tell me fucking 8 years ago people would have known Chris Red will be who Chris Red is right now.
No, I know.
You couldn't tell me. I used to watch comics sit up there and be like, man, dude ain't funny. But now I watch the same comics. Man, bro, I see you, dog.
I saw.
It's like, wow.
I had, and this is a story that I like to tell other friends when they get down, right? So, Tiffany Haddish has been in the game for what, like
20?
20? Yeah.
Her and Rail started around the same time.
Yeah. So Tiffany and I used to work on tons of shows together. We had shot a pilot together at this place that doesn't exist anymore. It was this little bite-sized studios network. She had a producer that was by her side through everything, still is, Samson Crouppen, great guy. And so I saw Tiffany and Samson run a bunch of shows together. They invited me to come do a bunch of them. Some of them were at theaters in Westwood. This was only like six years ago, maybe, not even 7 years ago. I was being scouted by a couple like is constantly happening. I was being scouted by a couple management companies. This guy from Brillstein at the time came out and saw me perform. And, you know, he was kind of judgy. It was in this weird theater space. Tiffany was hosting with Samson. And I remember going out to get a drink with him and some other people after the show. And he's like, you know, I think so-and-so of you needs a little bit of work. And he was like, and who was that host? And I remember at the time thinking, you didn't like the host? And he was he was acting like he knew at his 24 years of age what any of this meant.
Yep.
Judging the shit out of not only me, telling me what I need to work on, which obviously I know. We're always working on shit. And then telling me that he didn't think that this other person had any talent. And I immediately was like, I don't even care what he thinks anymore. I don't think this is the right person to represent me, because he doesn't see. He ended up leaving management shortly thereafter, moving into who knows where he works, some small production company now.
Probably live back with his mom.
No, I mean, for real though. And now I'm sure he tells people a different tale about what he thought about the first time he saw Tiffany perform.
Amazing. So just
I
phenomenal.
knew she was going to be something. But I remember going out that night being like, what? You don't see the charisma. You don't see the raw talent in somebody. Then you're not the person that should be making those judgment calls for people's careers. And that happens all the time.
Oh, yeah. You know, I've been told no by so many. I'm talking about so many talent agencies here, comedy festivals that wouldn't fucking book me, ones that were here, ones that were fucking in other countries, all these festivals that were just like no. And then next thing you know, networks that told me no, and shit, I ended up with a half hour. So it's just like, and then after the half hour, it's like, oh shit, this motherfucker. And it's like, oh, in front of 2,000 people, I've got people jumping out of their chairs because you don't know what's funny. The people tell you what's funny. See, what the industry fails to realize, and people that are so-called gatekeepers, you can't make a decision for everybody, right? You can't say, hey, I think this is what's funny. What I've noticed is most of the time when it comes to black comics, now we're being put into like this little box where they want us all to be like Hannibal. And I remember when Hannibal was coming up, they didn't think Hannibal was funny. And they didn't fuck with Hannibal.
And then they start categorizing him not as a black comic. Well, he says white jokes, so he's totally different. Gerard, same shit.
I went to college with Hannibal. He went to SIU. Open Mic Eagle went to SIU with me. So I watched these guys grow up. I used to perform at their open mic and fucking dance. Like they had like a dance battle every week for $50, and that was how I used to buy food and shit like that. I would go win a dance battle, get the $50 every week, and Hannah be like, "Yo, this dude called." Yo, dope. Like that was it, right? But it was like, I remember when he used to do comedy, he would open up for Little Rail in front of 600 black young kids between the ages of 18 to 22. And you know what Hannibal's comedy is like. So it wasn't a good thing. Like they used to be like, what the fuck is going on? And then Rail would go,
the pickles and the flicking.
Yes. And Hannibal, and he never changed who the fuck he was though. He stayed consistent. Yep. And I mean, he's funny than a motherfucker. And that's what people didn't understand. You have to find your audience. Everybody not gonna think I'm funny. And it's not my job to make everybody laugh. It's my job to find my audience. Yeah. And a lot of these gatekeepers and networks feel like, you know, this is
what role are they trying to fill? And it's like my own.
Exactly. Because I mean, if you look at all of, there's so many different types of black comics. You've got your Chappelle's, you've got your Chris Rocks, you've got your Little Rails, you got your Sid the Entertainer, you've got your Bernie Macs, you have your Eddie Griffins. You have all of these different types of comics. None of them fall in the same mold. Fucking Cat Williams, they're all totally different. Tiffany Haddish, fucking it's so many different types of people, but they feel like we need to, you know, fill this void. And I get it. If that's what you want your network to do, cool. But at the end of the day, you're missing out on a large demographic, because there are people out there who want this. Yep. They want the real, they want the raw, they want somebody that's gonna get up there and talk about their shit. I get it. Everything right now doesn't fucking have to be witty. We want to laugh. Yeah. We want to laugh. I don't want to say that was smart. I want to be laughing. I don't want to clap at your joke. That shit annoys me. People are agreeing like, oh, I agree with what you're saying. Yeah. No, bitch, laugh. I want you to laugh at what I'm saying. Yeah. I don't give a fuck about your claps. Like, my job is to make you leave with your stomach hurting and quoting shit that I said. Because that's what's gonna make you say next time you see me, oh, we gotta go see the little dude with the beard. Oh man, he's fucking funny. You might not know my name, but you know me as the little black dude with the beard.
Yeah, right.
So yeah, I watch like you say, these gatekeepers, man. They don't know what the fuck they're talking about. They, as you said, they're expendable. I learned that. I did stand up NBC.
Yeah.
I was a finalist in that. And Vladimir, do you know Vlad? So Vlad was hosting, and like the room was tight as fuck. And he goes, "Hey, y'all in here acting real tight." He's like, "You can loosen the fuck up." He was like, "Y'all up here being all judgy, motherfucker. You can be fired tomorrow." And he said it to a room full of NBC executives. He was like, "Yeah, I watch how y'all interchange." He was like, "One day you here, next day your ass gone."
Yeah.
And I laughed so hard, but it's the truth.
Yeah,
it's the truth.
Well, and then and those are so. I've done the callbacks 2 different times, and 2 times I was there with like a number of the same people, which is funny. But the first time you're scared shitless. The second time you're like, I don't get. Who knows? By 2 minutes, what they're gonna fucking like. But it's 9:30 in the morning. I had my call back at 9:30 in the fucking morning, and I was second.
Yeah.
You have only other comedians in the front row, and then in the back with little notepads, you got the 3 people. Yep. I mean, it's just, ugh.
And you know what?
You don't know what we go through this shit, man.
Because we don't know what they want, but at the end of the day, I have figured out what they want, and what they want is you. Right. And a lot of times comics go up there and they just try to figure, oh, okay, I'm going to say the smartest thing I got, or I'm just going to cut all my jokes down and just punch.
Yeah.
And it's not giving them a picture of who you are.
Yeah.
When I went on stage, when I actually made the semifinals here in Chicago, like some kid went on stage and talked about how he cussed his grandma out or some shit. And I walked on stage and I was like, yo, my grandma would have fucked you up. Like, and I just... like, that was in my callback. Yeah. And I'm just like, yo, you tripping. I'm like, you can't love your grandma. And I started talking about, like, my family, how my grandma would have did you. And I went into some other shit. Next thing I know, I made the semifinals. And then from the semifinals, I made the finals in LA. And it was just me talking about me. But that's the shit that they want. Because if they can make a sitcom off of you, that's the ultimate goal. To be able to cast you on something or to write something for you. That's the ultimate goal.
Yep.
And if your life is interesting enough where I can say, let me partner you with a writer and sit down and we can write out this pilot and pitch this to NBC, then it's like, okay, we're actually doing something. Because stand-up NBC, they want to keep moving you up levels.
What can we do? How can we turn this into a money churning machine?
Yeah.
And not to make it just sound like but I mean, that's what it is. Yeah. It's a business.
And it's not that they're, so focused off making money off of you, because this is an independent, like a smaller fraction of what NBC is, right? But they'll keep you in the family. They'll, like, me and Calvin get booked all the time. I got booked here to headline the semifinals here. Calvin hosted it.
Yep.
They actually had me come out to Los Angeles this year to talk to the finalists, just to tell them about what to expect, because they're like, hey, your career is fucking doing great, man. Yeah. And we want you to talk to these guys. And I bombed in the finals. Oh, I ate dog shit. I went first in a room full of those same people that were fucking staring. Yeah. I was sweating and shit. I don't even fucking sweat like that on stage.
Yeah, no, I know.
I was sweating and shit. But I was nervous. And even afterwards, I still had meetings with, like, Comedy Central. I met with, like, all of these different companies at Viacom. I already had a manager and an agent, so it wasn't like I couldn't get shit there. Right. But, yeah, I mean, it's as long as you, like, go up there and paint a picture of who you are, you're fucking fine.
And just embrace, we've all made mistakes. Like, even, and I've even joked with Curtis at Laugh Factory. He's a good friend. But, like, this summer, I had a rough set. One of my first actual bombs in a long time. Bombed. I was really drunk. I was really drunk on stage. Late show. I'd been out with friends all day. End of a tour. I was like, I've got this. It's gonna be fine. It's just 10 minutes. Yeah. I can be drunk for 10 minutes. Turns out that's not the fucking case.
That's not the thing.
But then, at the same time, we're such a bond. We have such a bond, all of us. Like, it's a forgiving space too. Yeah. And if it doesn't go perfectly, people that know you and know your track record aren't going to be like, fuck you, you're never coming back. They're going to just be like, all right, that was funny, not for the reasons you wanted it to be, but we're going to give you shit for a while for that.
Let me tell you something to everybody looking at this at home. There is nothing funnier to a room full of comics than another comic bombing. Okay? Because comics do the most uncomfortable. I've watched comics that don't curse at all on stage start cursing like motherfucker, bitch, shit, goddamn. They're trying to say anything to get the audience on their side. Other comics start sweating profusely. Like it's so awkward. They start fucking up their own punchlines, or they start saying shit like, "That's funny to me." Like they don't. They just. Or they just keep trying to get that big laugh. Hey, I'm gonna get out of here after this one. Like, no, motherfucker, leave now.
Get off the stage. And you're right, though. I mean, there's nothing that will make you build camaraderie amongst other comedians that love you than when they watch you absolutely bomb.
Oh, eat dog shit.
And it feels good. Like I call it like the tripping theory. Like I don't fall in public very often. Mm-hmm. So when I do, I know I've bought myself like a couple months before I have another like faux pas in front of strangers.
Yeah.
Same with bombing. It doesn't, a true, real harsh bomb doesn't happen very often. But when it does, you're like, well, at least I have some time until another one.
I talk about me and Tone Bell always bring up our bombs. Like we'll just be talking, and he'd be like, and out of nowhere, Tone would be like, whoo, I ate it that night. Oh man.
Oh my God.
Ate it. And it's just like, but we know, because it's like you feel it when it's happening. You're like, well, I'm gonna have to commit to this one.
It's like a trust fall where you know you're gonna hit the floor, nobody's catching you, and you're like, I'm falling already. So
I'm gonna commit. I'm not. They're not fucking with any of this. And you know what? It's cool. It's all right. It's all right. I know it. I think my worst bomb was in front of 1,200 people.
No.
Yeah, at SIU. I actually opened a step show with comedy. So I was 2 months in. It was from August to October. So I had like a little notepad on stage and shit in front of like all these young black kids trying to flip through my shit. And like they didn't boo me. They started to slow clap me off stage. They hit me with
that hurts so much more.
Oh, they slow clapped me. Like some dude started talking shit, so I started roasting him. He was in like the balcony. Next thing I know, I got the loudest laughs I've ever received in my fucking life because I was roasting this guy. They're dying. And I was like, oh, I got him. I pulled the notepad back out.
You're like, shit, I need more.
They started clapping again. So I went from bombing to killing back to bombing.
Ugh.
But the crazy part about it was I went to a party afterwards. The only thing they remembered was me roasting the kid. That's all they remembered. They was like, yo, you roasted the fuck out of that dude, man. And it's people still walking to me to this day. And I was like, man, I remember when we went Shryock in that auditorium and you roasted that dude. And I was like, that's crazy. That's crazy.
Dude, that's cool, though. It just goes to show you that the good part, like, people really do not remember you when you suck.
Oh, no, they don't.
They remember you when you're great.
Oh, yeah.
That's a good thing for us as artists to know. Is that all right? We have some leeway. So this comes out on Tuesday, which will be New Year's Eve. What do you have coming up in the new year that you're excited about? Anything you want to plug?
Yeah, I have a new show coming out on Hulu. It's called Woke. So it stars Lamar Morris from New Girl, Winston, Blake Anderson from Workaholics, and myself. So please tune into that in the year 2020 because I need 8 more seasons out of that because Lamar just bought a Lamborghini truck and I'm trying to catch up. So
I feel like that deserves a real slow cap.
Yeah.
And where can everybody follow you on Instagram, Twitter, website?
It's I am T Murph. IAMTMURPH. IamTMurph.com. I am T Murph on Facebook. I am T Murph on damn near everything. And if you want to check out my half hour, it is on Comedy Central. So if you have cable, whoever fuck still has that, you can sign in and watch that. If you don't have cable, I bootleg my own shit. It is on.
Just DM him. He's got you covered.
Oh no, my shit on YouTube. Just type in T Murph Comedy Special. It's gonna be there until they snatch it down. Watch that shit. Watch it. It's produced by Kevin Hart.
Yes, perfect. And you can find me at MPH Comedy on all the shit. MPHcomedy.com/TIX for any upcoming dates. Come see me in DC in February. It'll be my first time headlining there. Really excited for that. I don't know. We're about to go do like a 1 hour show, 2 hour, 3 hour show at the
Yeah. And I got some important people that's going to be there. And they're going to be looking like, what the fuck is this? So
awesome. Well, it was really fun to finally have you. You're fucking amazing. And I'm excited to see what 2020 brings us both. And this guy, James Webb on the keys. He's amazing. I'm going to go Chicago. Peace out.
Peace.